have to create the log analytic workspace. You have to create an environment where in that environment it will fetch the logs, then those logs will be pushed to the Sentinel. So if you have a single tenant, you can go with a single Microsoft Sentinel workspace. It is used by the small or medium-sized company where you put your systems in one region. Then single tenant with the regional Microsoft Sentinel workspace. That means if you have single tenant but you have multiple regions, you work with the different regions. So what you do, you can have still one Azure account, Azure tenant, but you can create separate workspaces in different regions. Like a company which has an office in US, Europe, and Asia, they can make, they can keep, they should keep Europe as the data, EU data inside the Europe. So that means if you have the multiple, you have the one region, you have the one Azure tenant, but you can create the workspaces with different regions. It can be US, Europe, and Asia. Then the multiple tenant. What happens if some companies have multiple Azure tenant? You have multiple accounts. Each can create their own Sentinel. So what I can do, if I have multiple tenant, I want in Europe, I have in Asia, I have in South Africa, I have all the tenants available there. Then I can go ahead and create the Sentinel workspace environment. So this article shows the multiple tenants, each with their own Sentinel workspace. Each tenant is isolated and has has resources, but they are managed in the centralized way. So if you want single workspaces, good for small companies. Regional workspaces are used for the best who has the business over the globe, and multiple tenants are best for the Microsoft service provider, are very large organizations. Now, if you are trying to create the Sentinel workspace, these are the requirements you have to do. First, you need to have the Azure subscription to deploy the Sentinel. And you need to have the contributor or owner role into that Azure subscription. Then you can configure the log analytic workspace in your region according to your region. If you're in USA, if you are in Europe, if you are wherever you have to choose the right region, otherwise it will not work. Then you can create the log analytic workspace. Then you can integrate that log analytic workspace with the Sentinel. I will just show you right now. Afterwards, before going for that development, what type of roles and permission you need when you want to create this Sentinel. For Microsoft Sentinel specific role, these are the built-in roles which is used to manage the Microsoft Sentinel. You need to have the contributor, reader, or responder role. That means if you have Microsoft Sentinel contributor, you will be able to manage the Sentinel settings but cannot give other access. Then in the reader role, you can view only the access to the Sentinel data and the resources. But responder, if you have the responder role, then you can investigate and respond to the incident. Then also, you need to have the Azure roles and Azure monitoring log analytic role. These Sentinel uses the log analytic to store and analyze the data. That's why we need to have the log analytic contributor reader role. So then these roles will apply to our workspace, not the Sentinel directly. Then we have the Microsoft Sentinel role and allowed actions. That means this refers to the role-based access control, which is allowed per Sentinel role. If you want to create, for example, if you want to create or delete the analytic roles, if you want to view and investigate the incident, if you want to configure the data connector, a table of role and actions helps us to identify what you can do into the Sentinel. So we create the rules and role-based, we give the role-based access controllers like Sam will be the one who is going to view and investigate the incident. So based on his job role, I am providing him the role into the Sentinel. Then we have the custom role and advanced Azure RBAC role. That means Azure allows you to create the custom role to, to your according to your organization needs. If the built-in roles, whatever the roles Microsoft is providing you, that is not sufficient, you can go ahead and create your custom roles, and so you can, based on your organization need, you can you go ahead and create the custom roles in the environment. So it will ensure the least privilege access. It will support the segregation of the duties, and it will enable the secure operation across the teams using the Sentinel. Let me pull my lab environment. Oh, let me reopen this. Okay. Until it's loading, I will just let's move ahead, and I will show you in the end once the lab is launched. Then explain the use of data connectors in Sentinel. Now we created the workspace, we enable the Sentinel environment, we get the Azure subscription. But how the Sentinel will pull the logs? What type of logs, what type of data you want, how it will work with AWS, how it works with the Azure, how it works with the GCP. So we use the data connectors option. In Sentinel, we have the data connectors. We have to enable that connectors in the environment. Then we will be able to collect. Then the Sentinel will be able to collect the logs and analyze and do the remediation. Okay. So in this, so injecting in Sentinel, we have to inject the data. Without that, you will not be able to, the Sentinel will not be able to pull the logs, gather the information without the data connectors. While connecting the logs to the Sentinel environment, we use the Connect Hub. Okay, in the Content Hub, what we will do, Content Hub is a central place in the Sentinel where you can find the application, where you can add and manage the pre-built solution to make your security monitoring easier. If you see, this is my Sentinel environment. I am using the Content Hub, sorry. In the Content Hub, I can pull the Azure activity. I can connect the Defender for Cloud App. I can connect the Defender XDR. I can connect my Microsoft Entra environment. I can connect the SaaS applications. I can connect the threat intelligence with my Sentinel. And in the left side, if I want to open that, what it is, you can see who is the provider. Microsoft is a provider. What is the version of Azure activity? What is it? So how many data connectors you will get? How many workbooks you get? How many hunting rules you will get? How many queries you can run? You can see all this, and then you have an option to enable it. I'm just waiting to get the lab launch, so I will. Okay. So if you see, this is my lab environment. Let me download the file. Let me log into my virtual machine. let me log in. We have to log into the Azure portal to access this, to deploy the Sentinel. Log in with the credentials. So this is my Azure environment. Now I have to open my Sentinel. I have to create the workspace. Let me show you how we do that. Just go into the search bar and write for Microsoft Sentinel. Now this is my Sentinel environment. I do not have any workspace. Let us create a workspace. Then I will show you how we can enable it with the Sentinel, how we can edit with the Sentinel. First, you need to have the Azure subscription. Later on this, I have to use the subscription as there, the resource group, then the name, and you have to choose the correct region wherever you are placed. I will go for the West US too. Okay. Review and create. It will do the validation. It will see whether this workspace will be available in this region. It will do the validation. Once the validation is running, it's in running mode. Okay. Directly create. It will take some time to deploy. First, we have the Azure subscription, then we are creating the workspace. Now I will inject this, I will add this workspace into the Sentinel, and all my logs will go to this workspace, and then Sentinel is going to analyze it. But we have to enable the data connectors. The deployment will take few minutes. Let's until it's completed, then we will go ahead with the adding that workspace to our Sentinel. So in this, data connectors, we use data connector tool to link your data sources like Azure Office 365 Defender into the Microsoft Sentinel. This lets Sentinel to collect, analyze, and act on the logs from these sources. Then we have these type of connectors, data connectors. You can do it with the Defender XDR. You can connect the Azure services with it. If you want to check the Windows security logs, you can enable this data connector. You have the vendor connectors. You can enable the custom connectors, and you can also check for the common event format connector for the Linux machines. Apart from that, we have more connectors. We can create our custom connectors, which we can enable into our Sentinel environment, and it will pull the log. We can go for the codeless connector platform. We can enable Azure monitoring agent. We can logic apps, log analytic API, and Azure functions. So see, we have already deployment is completed. If I go back on my Sentinel environment, you will see that under if I click create, automatically this workspace will be there. See, this workspace is there. I have to add this workspace into my environment. Just you have to do one click add, and it will take some time. It will take few minutes of the time, and Sentinel with your Sentinel is going to add this workspace into your environment. Okay, so if you see, my Sentinel free trial account is activated. Okay, so this is my Sentinel environment. If you want, I can go for the free trial. I have the free trial enabled. And if you want, you can go ahead and get the training labs. You can take the online courses. You can, if you want to get access the resources, you can go on the GitHub community. Documentations will be there. Cost management. You can also explore the support resources as well. If I talk about in this environment, we have these options. Okay, we have these options, and we can use in the incident, we can check the alerts will be generated. You can go ahead and generate those alerts. You can see workbook. We can see under this, we can see the reporting option. We can do the advanced handling. You can run the queries, and after running the queries, you can check the logs for the last data set. You can use threat intelligence. We were talking about the data connectors. Now, before the data connectors, we have the content hub option. In the content hub option, first you have to enable that feature here, then you can add that data connector to your Sentinel environment. In content hub is just in our phones we have the Play stores. In our iPhones we have the apps, Apple stores, right? Content hub is just an application store which you can integrate with your Sentinel environment. If I say in the layman, it's just an app store. All the applications will be there, and you can go ahead and integrate these applications with your Sentinel environment. Let me, if you see here, this, as I already showed you in the picture, I have these type of applications. If you want to track the Azure activity, you can apply that. If you want to, if I want to connect the Defender to my environment, I can search the Defender, and I can search. See, I can have the Defender for Office 365. I can integrate Defender for Identity. I can do any sort of integration, whether it's a Microsoft application or the third party application. Let me just try to do this Azure activity. Okay, in the Azure activity, I can see the provider, I can see who is going to be support. It's a Microsoft. What is this? It will give you the description. What in the Azure activity, what type of logs you are going to receive. You are going to receive security, service health, alerts, recommendation if you enable this, and what type of rules, data connector. We can run the hunt queries. We can have the workbooks for the reporting option. If I want to use this, click on install. Once I click on install option, once it's installed, I will get the manage option here. Still the installation, whenever you want to check the installation, you have to go on the notification. Installation is successful. That means I have installed this Azure activity log solution, which I have integrated with my Sentinel. Now I can manage it. Now I will show you how we can enable this in the data connectors. See, this is my Azure activity. It will give me the description, all the information what we have seen previously. How many content items has been installed? 32 items has been. So you can check these type of logs content you will get when it comes with the Azure activity. And 15 configuration is needed. So click on the Azure activity. Let's enable this data connector. You see, now I have first installed this application like from the Play Store we do in our phones. Now we are doing the same in the Sentinel, I go on the Content Hub, install that application. Now I have to enable this data connector, then it will work with the Sentinel. Now click on it, open the connector page. Now it will give me the requirement steps. See, again, right now the status is showing disconnected, not connected. Who is the provider? Last logs. Nothing is showing up. So what I will do, I will see what are the instruction I have to follow to do this. I need to, the requirements are, I need to have the workspace with the read and write permission. I need to have the owner on the policy. I need to have the owner role assigned for each policy. And I need the on the subscription, as I already told you, we need to have the on Azure subscription, we need to have the owner or contributor role to the relevant subscription. Then configuration, if you want, if you disconnect, you can go ahead and check. Let's try to connect. Now I want to connect it. Let's launch. Because this is a lab environment, we have to use things as it is in the environment. We cannot use any other. Let me use the scope. The subscription is this. I am applying it on my resource group. Okay, I do not have the subscription because this option is not there. Okay, then what I can do, I will not be able to create it for everything because I do not have the proper privilege to do this. So what I have to do first, I have to select the subscription on which resource group I have. If you see, I do not have the right permissions over this subscription and this workspace. So that's why I will not be able to create. Then if you want, you can exclude some from the policy, from this policy which we are creating. Then it is asking us to choose the version. I have to enable, I have already enabled the version is needed. As I already showed you for the Azure activity, it works on one point. The version is there. We have to enable that version for this Azure activity. The policy name will be configuring the Azure activity logs, and the name will be the same. If I want to put the description, I can go ahead and directly I can review. I will not be able to create it. If I try to create you in the now here you have to choose the workspace. Under the parameters, you have to choose the workspace, which Sentinel will pull the logs from this workspace. But I will not be able to create because I do not have the proper right permissions to the subscription and to this workspace. So that's why the same way if I review and create, automatically on the Azure activity, you will see the status will be in the under the data connector. If I open this page, it will show the status will be shows as connected, but I have to have the proper permissions before. That's why I was telling you, once we are deploying this, we need to have the correct permissions to on the subscription, on the workspace, on the Sentinel environment. Okay. Now one more thing I want to show you on the Sentinel. Let me open my Sentinel environment. This is my workspace. Now, if you want to, we have the option of now. After you integrate, you connect the data connectors. Now, how you can check the logs? This is the option where you can run the queries. you can see you have the tables. Okay, you have the table. These type of logs you can check with the Sentinel. You can check the logs for applications, you can check for the audit, you can check logs for the Azure monitoring, but you you need to first enable these options under the data connector if you want to check for the Azure resources. Then what you can do, you can start using the KQL queries. If you, I will not be able to perform it due to the restrictions. Let if I want to perform that, see what you can do. You have to just go on the tables. You do not have to learn a high language code and the SQL queries or anything. You just go on the browser and just if you want to check the security events with on the Microsoft portal, Microsoft documentation, you can get those queries. You can get that queries will be there, and you can simply it will give you the step by step how you can open that queries, how you can pull that run those queries. You have to just select that, and once you select that, you can run the query, and it will right now I will not show it will not show me for anything. But if you have the Sentinel enabled and you are using this environment, so it will definitely pull the logs. If you in this you can check the logs for last 30 minutes, last 24. You can also do select the custom time range as well. Okay, and you can save this query for the future reference, and you can share this query with your colleagues, with your managers, with your bosses. And you can also have the query if you want to do the query hub is there. If you want to check the latest, you can use this as for your references. It's just a hub. If you are not familiar what so what under the Azure resources, what type of queries are there and what they are going to do, you can run them directly by rather than going under this on the data table under the queries. You are not. It's very difficult for us to understand this, right? But you can use the query hub. There will be the things and you can go ahead and run this directly because it will give you some what it will give. It will list up if I use this one, it will list up the 100 most recent errors from the app service authentication in this selected time range. And also Sentinel can be now integrated with the Copilot. If you are not able to understand, you will get once you run the logs, once you run the queries, you are not able to understand what I have to do. You can go ahead and use the Copilot as well. You can write them. Uh, I can ask them anything. Find the virtual machine that is running right now. Anything with this, if you're not able to understand this query, you can ask them, please summarize this log, summarize this incident by using the Copilot. But for using the Copilot, you need to have the proper licensing for this. Okay. So it will take some time to generate the log and it will give you the guided response. It will give you the summary of the incident and the guided response on what next you can do. If you see, it gives me, you can run this query. It is giving me because I'm right now on the KQL on the this logs page. So that's why it's giving me this type of query. I can go ahead and if I click directly run, it will automatically run. See, I've asked him to find the virtual machines that are running. So it gives me the queries because I was on the log page. So if I go, I hit run. It will automatically, I hit it run. It count here. I can directly run the query. I know it will not show anything because it's just my lab environment. So this is the way you can go ahead. We have a lot of content, lot of options in the Sentinel, but this was just a 1 hour session. So that's why I just covered the bit how you can integrate, how you create the workspace, and how you can add that workspace with the Sentinel, and how you can inject the data by using the data connectors, whether it's the Microsoft connector or any third-party application. And now Microsoft has given you, if you want to use the Sentinel environment, um, Previously, we were not have this option, but right now we have an option. If I go to my Defender portal, let me open this portal. Now you can integrate the Sentinel with your Defender portal, which is Microsoft Defender XDR portal. Rather than going to the different environments, you can, if you are using this Defender portal security for managing your M365 security for your emails, for your cloud applications, for your um, devices, for your users accounts. So now, Microsoft, you can connect your Sentinel environment with this Defender, and you can start using the Sentinel environment with the Defender portal, which is security.microsoft.com. If I show, but first, if I want to connect the Defender, use the Defender portal, I have to enable the data connector, which I already showed you under the Content Hub. I need to install that Defender application. Then it will log in with that admin credential which you are using in your Azure environment. Automatically, you have under in there, you can connect. If you see, you can connect your Microsoft Sentinel Defender to Unify Solution in a single portal with AI automation, and you can connect the automatically. Once you enable that option into the Sentinel, automatically this workspace will get replicated here. Just hit next and review and finish. Okay, and then on the left side, you will be able to see the Microsoft Sentinel option. And whatever the options we have on the Azure environment, all the options you will be able to find here. See, I talked about the workbooks, hunting, notebooks, content hub, data connectors. But first I have to integrate this with my Sentinel environment. Yeah, that was all in the today's session. Okay. If you are interested in learning more about how we can configure the Sentinel environment, you can connect